Welcome back to Nopes and Opes, gang. It's me and Highland
On a
here in Minnesota.
yeah, yeah, which is, um, well, I didn't I was gonna try to sneak this in somewhere, but I'm just gonna sneak it in right now. We are in Minnesota, and yesterday you showed up. It was a Saturday. The beautifully kind of gloomy, rainy, kind of very fallish,
Yeah.
weathery day today, and I'm looking outside the window, and it's just like, yeah, very proper for November. Although it's raining and it's like 50 degrees outside, so it's
Yeah.
not super Novemberish. But I just want to say that last night, like I'm kind of suffering a little bit this morning, but last night was super, super fun. And like I just put out a text message to the group that Rowan was in town and if anybody wanted to get drinks. And the whole crew showed up. Um, and unfortunately, I don't think anyone in that crew actually listens to anything that we say in the podcast, so they'll never know. But it was super fun and just like I'm feeling I wish I was feeling better physically, but mentally I'm feeling really, really good.
Yeah, and that was I was gonna start off with just the podcast for today was like last night I was like smiling ear to ear. Like I had a great time.
Yeah.
And also just the Island's friend group is a very dynamic group of individuals. Like they all have such different personalities and kind of different backgrounds. So it's really just fun to kind of just meet with everyone and chat about things, and it just was a good time. Like
Yeah.
I was having a blast. And one of the things that I had talked about a lot with uh so like the table was kind of split in half. Highland was on one side talking to three other guys, and I was talking to guys on my side of the table. We were talking a lot about dating because
Oh.
and not all of these gentlemen are 50 plus, um,
No, 45 plus.
45 plus.
I'm the oldest person of the
Oh,
group.
you are?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, no. Stefan is a little bit. Stefan's 54.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, so we were talking about dating, and because some of the people in the group are married and have kids, whereas others are, you know, out there still dating even at
All of the
54.
all of the all of the Indians are married.
Yeah.
All of the mostly white and then the
Miscellaneous.
Hispanic, yeah, French, whatever, are very, very single. Yeah, so it is a really, really interesting dynamic. Like very interesting conversations all the time.
And so like what I want to talk about today is just like dating in general, because like
Oh
now, because in the
gosh,
past I have talked about exes, these feelings, and now I'm
yeah,
kind of
we
like
beat that. We beat
we're
that horse.
now I'm in the stage of life where it's like, hey, I'm out there.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm trying to date some people, and so I have some stories to share, and I think we'll just kind of go take it from there and just kind
I
of
have been
enjoy.
waiting for this moment. Rowan has been teasing, like he's like, for a couple weeks now. He's like, "Oh man, I've got some stories for the podcast," and so this moment has been building and building and building. But I do not have any, I do not have any clue as
Hmm.
to what is going to be discussed or shared. But the expectations are pretty high because,
I'm about to lower them.
r- huh?
I said, you're gonna need to lower them.
No, well, I hope that there's some funniness
Well,
because
it's all so in what we've talked about this, like I don't need any pity. All these stories I'm gonna tell you, they're supposed to be funny. I enjoy them. I laugh at them.
yeah,
They're not necessarily deemed as successes, but to me they are a success because it's like, hey, I'm out there, I'm trying, we're doing our
yeah,
best,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So first story.
Okay.
Okay, so I currently work at a bar. Prior to working at this bar, I worked at a car dealership selling cars when I first moved back to Peoria. There was a girl that worked there that she was very cute, a little bit younger. She's 22, 26. So, I guess same generation, but acts a little bit differently, very immature, right? This individual, this lady, I'm not trying to talk bad about her, but she is very kind of made some bad decisions when it came to men. We talked a lot, and there was some flirting, but I was more of just kind of like being nice and goofing off at work. No real kind of like intimacy because she was dating, not dating some guy that used to work there and all this stuff. So I was like, all right, you're doing your thing, right?
The kids might say that seems a little bit messy.
yeah, she was doing a lot of messy things, a lot of situationships, as they call them,
Oh,
where you're doing all the things of dating and hooking up and whatnot, but you don't identify it, right?
my 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 older brain does not cannot wrap my head around situationships. I I mean, I understand the concept. I understand the like the definition of it, but yeah, yeah,
It's kind of like,
it's
why?
yeah.
So I'm at the bar, and she comes in with her friend, and
Oh,
she looks very nice, and I say hello. We kind of get to chatting and whatnot. The first thing she told me was that she had ended things with that one guy that she had been seeing
oh,
when we were talking.
oh,
And to me, kind of like a little light bulb went off in my head. I
yeah,
was like, ding, ding, ding.
yeah,
That's a sign.
yeah, yeah.
And so I, continue to work. They get a drink and whatnot, and then they go out. And I'm like, okay. They leave. I get done with my shift, and I text her. I'm like, hey, are you guys still out? Because it's a Saturday night, and I'm like, I just got done with my shift. Like maybe I'll go hop in and say hi and whatnot,
Yeah.
just chat. And prior to me this actually happening, while she was at the bar, she was telling me about all the men she was seeing that like worked at the dealerships around the area and whatnot. So she was sharing some stories, and I was like, huh, okay, yeah. Like, and on one hand, I'm like, you do your thing, girl. Like, live your life. On the other hand, I'm like, honey, these are not smart decisions. Like, you're with these people that you shouldn't be with, and so
So, okay, I just have a question,
yeah,
and this is definitely generational. But seeing means, like in my mind, well, what does seeing mean? I'll
okay.
just phrase it that way.
Okay. I'm not using their name, so I'll just kind of give more detail into what the seeing actually is. One of the people that they work with is married, and oh
No.
yeah, yeah, and so they've been kind of like hooking up in the sense of like they've made out a few times. Maybe some other things have happened, but they never had intercourse. Okay.
Yikes.
Okay. And then another individual that this person works with in some kind of way is engaged and has a kid, and they have seen each other, no intercourse, but kind of flirting
Oh
and whatnot, right?
gosh.
And so I hear this, and I'm like, well, you know, you do your thing, lady, you do your thing, right? So I then go to the bar that they're at, and so I first walk in, and there's this guy that I kind of knew as an acquaintance and hadn't seen in a while, and so we get to
Can
talking.
I ask you one more question?
Yeah,
So, knowing you have all of this
I have
knowledge,
all of this knowledge.
so you're going to the bar and like, like no judgment here, but like you're still interested in this girl.
Just give me a little bit more time and
Oh,
you will see,
oh,
right?
sorry, sorry.
So
Okay.
I go to the bar with the intention of like, hey, I just was gonna like stop in before I go home because it's literally on the way
Okay.
to my house.
Yeah, yeah.
So I stop in, and just because I was like, I was gonna kind of wrap up the conversation because they got one drink and they left, and I was kind of asking about the place I used to work at and like, how it is now.
Yeah.
And it was more of kind of like, what's going on? Like, I'm not really interested in like hitting it off or anything or
Yeah.
whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So I get to that bar, and there's that gentleman I was talking about that I'm kind of acquaintances with. We're talking, and then she and her friend came out of the bathroom and are talking to us. And so then it kind of becomes like the two-man game where I'm talking with the one I used to work with that I like know, and the friend is talking with the other guy that I knew. So like we're both kind of like in a double date esque scenario, right?
Oh
And
gosh.
the dude was also like we were all kind of talking together in a group. He's terrible at flirting. It was actually very enjoyable to like be a part of it to just see like wow, that's how you do this. And just setting things up so terribly, and I was like, like, but he makes a lot of money, so he kind of had that going for him, taller, and so we're there, and then the girl that I was talking about starts to like really flirt with, touching my arm and whatnot. And so my brain's like, oh, okay. So like I haven't had anyone flirt with me in a good amount of time. Like it's been a while.
Oh
But I
gosh.
know all of the things that she had told me during the night. And I'm like, hey, like I'm gonna go home. Like I'm done. Right. And because they want what they wanted to do is we were at this bar. and they wanted to get shots and whatnot. And they were like, "Hey, we want to go to a second bar before going out to this club called Saddled Up." And I was like, "Why are you going to another bar to then go to the club? Just go to the club." And the bar they wanted to go to is notorious for having underage like drinkers at it
Mm.
and whatnot. And it's more of kind of like a college bar and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like I have no interest. Like I'm gonna go home. And to be honest, I really had to use the restroom at that point. I was like, yeah, I gotta go home.
Okay.
So when I tell them that, the girl turns to her friend and is like, all right, well, we have to find someone else at this next bar for me to dance with at Saddled. Like that was kind of like their whole plan throughout the night is like,
Oh.
we need to find someone to dance with at Saddled. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, whatever. I get in my car, I drive home. Go home, use the bathroom, shower, get ready for bed. And as I'm showering, I'm like, you know what? It has been a while. And I don't know, like maybe I should go out there and just kind of see what happens on the night.
Oh, God. Okay.
So I get in my car and I drive to the bar that they were headed to before the club. And I show up and I surprise them. And they're like, Rowan, no. So we start talking and whatnot. And then we go back to the kind of, the 2-man game, if you will. But at this point, we're sitting at a table and the two friends are just making out next to us. Which I don't know if you've ever been sitting at a table with two others while they're fully making out. You don't really know where to look.
No, the dude that wasn't good at flirting but had a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is
Is now making out with the friend of the girl that I knew.
Oh gosh.
They're just
okay.
fully, that's just happening next to me. And so the girl I knew I get there and she's like, let's do some shots. She goes to the bar, gets some shots, comes back. We take the shots and we're starting to talk and whatnot. And there's like, there's some flirting and whatnot. But I'm like playing it close to my chest. I'm like, I'm just kind of here, like, I'm kind of doing this for the plot, if you will, seeing what's happening. This will be an interesting story. She then tells me, this is where it gets good. She then is like, Rowan, I'm really happy.
My heart and like I'm.
Just wait. I will redeem everything in
No,
due
I'm
time.
so nervous right now. I don't
So
know. Like I'm like watching like Breaking Bad. I feel like or something. Okay.
So she tells me, she's like, Rowan, I'm really happy you came. The only problem is I wish you had told me sooner because I texted 3 other dudes, which are the
No.
dudes that she has been messing around with that I was talking, that she had told me about earlier, to all come to Saddled Up the club. And I looked at her and I was like, you're forming a roster of men to come to Saddled Up. And she was like, and I made the joke. I was like, and I'm the 4th man on the roster. She's like, you would have been the first, but you were going to go home. And I was like, how is this my fault? And so then I was like, and you didn't think to text one at a time and see if they were going to come? You just sent out a mass text to bring all of these men to the one place. So she's like, yeah, I have 3 other people coming to South. I'm like, what are you going to do? And she's like, I don't know. You should have told me. And then she just keeps putting it on me. So I do the smart thing. I'm like, you know what? I'm wrong. You're right. I'm sorry. What are you going to do about this?
What?
And she's making this whole big deal. And I was like, because if you're going to go and dance with any of these other men, I'm going to go home. Like, I have no interest. Right. And she's like, nah, I don't know. Like, let's just show up together and they'll probably get the hint. I'm like, okay. We kind of put that aside. We go back to like talking. She then is like, let's get some more shots. I'm like, all right. She walks over to the bar to get more shots. The 2 friends stop making out. And I tell them the situation. I'm like, this woman has a roster of men. And the friend that is friends with the girl is like, yeah, that's just kind of. And I'm like, okay. And so we're kind of chatting. And then I look over towards the bar. She's at the bar. She's grabbing drinks. We look over as a group. I then see her talking to this gentleman at the bar. This guy then stands up. He is 6 foot, massively. Tattoos from necks to his. Absolutely a charming guy. I would sleep with the guy. He's that handsome looking. And I see them flirting. And then he literally like points over at me. And then I see her mouth where it's like, oh, he's just a friend. And like touches him on his arm. And at that point, I looked over at the other 2 people and I went, yeah, she's adding a fifth guy to the roster, and then the friend was like,
Oh
"Yep,
my
that's her," and I
God.
went, "All right, well, that's it for me, guys," and I just got up and I walked out.
See, this. Oh,
And
oh.
the best part is, so I walk out of the
Is there a
bar.
best part of
No,
this
there
story?
is. This is redeeming for me.
Okay.
One, because I got goddamn standards. So I walk out because at that point I was like, okay, I knew that this person was doing these things. I wasn't really interested in like having a relationship. It was all kind of like a physical, like this might be exciting. I might be able to make out with this chick at the end of the night, maybe dance with them, have a good time, and then
Yeah.
go on my merry way. But I ended up being like, no, I have standards. I'm not gonna beat myself down and let them flirt with other men in front of me and all that stuff. Like, no, hold yourself to a better standard. I walk out, I get in my car, and I'm just laughing about it. I'm just kind of like, I'm happy it happened, and I think it's funny, and I know that it's gonna be a comedy bit that I'm gonna write and everything. And I turn on my car and I start driving, and the radio kicks on, and Akon's "Lonely" kicks on, the
Oh,
first song, and I just broke out laughing
yeah.
as it played that song. And eventually, I got a text from this girl, right? And for some weird reason, she kept calling me bruh in the text, which I didn't really respond well to. So they had texted me saying, "Are you mad?" And I said, "No, I'm not mad. I just saw what was happening at the bar and I don't want to waste my time." And she then said, "I was just flirting to get free drinks. You're not wasting your time. Yeah, I'll flirt for free drinks." And to which I then replied, um, or no, I replied before that. I said, "No, I'm not mad. I just saw what was happening at the bar and not going to waste my time." And then after that, I replied, "And by the way, I'm not the side hoe. I'm the main hoe. So I don't play these games." And then she texted the whole, like, you weren't wasting your time and all that stuff. And then I just left it unread. And it taught me a lot about being like, men, value yourselves. Some of these women out here have so many options. Throughout the night, she had men throwing themselves at her. She could pick from the litter. And I knew that I was the best option of all these guys in terms of like, being a good guy and whatnot. All these other dudes were just kind of like, oh, I want to sleep with you and whatnot. But I just, you know what? No, I'm getting out of here. I think better of myself. I'm not gonna beat myself down with this spot. So I left.
Oh,
Thoughts, questions.
that's so many concerns, so many questions, so many thoughts. I don't know. I don't want to sidetrack. I think you have other stories, but yeah, so many. Um, because for whatever reason, I don't know why, but like when I turn on YouTube, every once in a while, they'll suggest videos of like body counts and things like that, and like
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
discussions of that.
Yeah.
And I just watched like the first, like the preview of it, and then I just go on to the next video or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
because I just, but I do find that very interesting. And then I also saw another video of a guy on a motorcycle, and I don't know this girl, but I really like her. Like she slides across her floor, and she's in the mirror. I don't know who she is, but she's super cute. She's
Hmm.
always smiling. But she's like kind of a
She a
proponent.
snail or
Huh?
she's just sliding across her floor all the
No,
time? Or
no, she has like a full length mirror. So she has her
ah,
phone and then she does like the Tom Cruise like slide
oh,
and then
okay.
she videos herself in the mirror and
Yeah,
she's just gives like a 30-second monologue and
gotcha.
just
That's like
says
her intro into her
yeah.
making the video.
But
Got
she's
it.
just like I really like her. But like she shared a video of a guy on a motorcycle and the girl is off screen and he's just like he has his camera on him just to kind of like I think just protect him as a motorcyclist. But
Hmm.
so the girl's off screen and she's saying, "Hey, can I give you my number?" And the guy's like, "Nah, like I'm in a relationship and she treats me really well and I, it's been a few months and I want to pursue that." And she's like, "Well, she doesn't have to know, you know how it works and da da da." And the guy's like, "Nah, like I appreciate it, like I thanks a lot, like that's cool, but I'm good." And the girl's like, "No, I don't think you understand. Like most like all guys, like when I offer my number, like they take it and hook up and this and that, and the guy's just like, no, man, like
I'm
I'm
good.
good. I have a relationship that I appreciate, and I have a girl that treats me well, and that's it. Like I don't want anything to do with you. And she just couldn't get it, and she just kept pushing. And the guy's like, all right, see ya, and just takes off. And I just think, like for you, for younger people, I just like for me, I'm so glad I'm not part of that because I just I mean, I'm like dating. This is not my conversation. Like, I am not one to say anything about dating, but I would just, I would feel so miserably in that environment. Like, just hearing those stories, just the fact, like, I think for me, like, I just wonder. I guess my question is, like, does body count matter? To me, it does. Like, if I see four guys lined up waiting for this girl in the club. I'm just like, nah, I want nothing to do with that, even in my 20s. Um, and then, like, how do you guys navigate this? Like, how do you know when somebody's actually values you? And then how do you trust? Like, if, like, with so much social media, with so many options, with the ability to hook up with somebody instantaneously, like, if you have a fight and they want to go on, uh, what
Tinder, one of the
yeah,
dating apps,
whatever.
find
I mean,
someone very quickly.
they can meet somebody within minutes,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do you form any trust? How do you form any sort of like lasting, like
Connections.
permanence?
Yeah. Well, so I have a weird situation. So like I was in, a 9-year committed relationship and never struggled with that. So I just as an individual am a very loyal, intimate person. Like when I kind of latch on to you, like
I
I'm
think that makes it even harder.
I'm latch.
'Cause I think
It
you're
does
the
make it extremely
rarity.
harder. And so, for instance, like that story, like one's supposed to be funny. Like I thought it was funny. I in no way like felt bad about myself. If anything, it made me feel more empowered. That I was like, you know what, Rowan, you tried. You came to see what was happening, and it just didn't work out. But to answer that question, like as I was talking to her, from the moment she came to the bar and we were chatting, like I knew the type of woman that she was, like what she was doing, how she was kind of hooking up with other people and whatnot. And, I'm not trying to let shame or anything like that, but I was like, yeah, no, like you don't have the qualities I want in a partner, right?
Well, I guess I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have another question then. Like, are there women that are not like that anymore?
Yeah,
Be- because,
they're just Christian. I'm kidding.
well, no, I mean, I like I just wonder because like I think with the advent of social media, with so many options, and with women being more empowered and more willing to kind of like exercise control and
Yeah.
kind of just kind of step into their own kind of lives and take ultimate control and responsibility. I think there is this kind of explosion of like sexual liberty and just kind of I don't know.
I to go on to that. So I based on this experience, I've written a comedy bit, and the way it starts, it's really tough out there for men right now to find dating, and the reason is because women have so many options,
Yeah.
right? Like that specific girl has a roster at any moment notice. She could be like, "Hey, come to this club." She had 3 dudes in the span of 5 minutes available for her to dance with and possibly, do some kind of
Whatever.
something at the end of the night, whatever she wants to do, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like where the joke starts, and then I kind of talk about, you know, how it's kind of a desert for men because, like, in terms of having options, it's not necessarily the case. To answer your question, you say like, are there people out there that really do care and like want to have genuine connections? Absolutely, there definitely are. It's just that you have to kind of sift through all of the nonsense to find those people. So like that's my whole kind of thing, right? In terms of dating. Like I used to think that I was going to be kind of a player. I was gonna sleep with tons of women and have all this success and just well success. I have all this sex and just be like, I've tasted the rainbow. I've had everything, you know? And now I kind of realize, even after like that one night, like if I really had wanted to, I could have been like, you know what? I'll see through all of these big old red flags and just pursue her, right? And possibly hook up with her and whatnot and end the night. But like I would have felt empty. I would have felt bad. I would have felt maybe manipulated. I would have felt like I manipulated her because I was aware that like, oh no, I know that I don't really like you for your personality and whatnot. This is all based on physicality, right?
Mm,
I don't want to ever feel that way. I don't want to use women in that way. I don't
yeah.
want to use myself in that way. So I
Yeah.
was like, all right, I'm walking out, done. And so now it kind of puts me in an empowered state. And I think a lot of men are having this where, like that guy on the motorcycle, which I've actually seen that video. Um, he's like, no, like I can find a girl that actually cares about me that they can have trust with, and it can be like a beneficial kind of thing. Because if I met a girl and she's like, hey, like your girlfriend doesn't have to know, like we can hook up. I'm like, hey, like if I was then like wanting to date you, you would probably do that again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I go like, no, I'm not interested, right? There are not a lot of women running up to me saying like, hey, let's let's hook up. But um I definitely do think there are. You just have to find them. Like what I kind of search for is what I deem as like a high value woman, because I feel like I am a high value man, right? Like I think I have really good
Yeah,
morals.
yeah.
I think I'm very mature. I'm actually 46 years old.
Yeah,
Um,
in spirit.
yeah, in spirit. And so there's all these things that like I really care about. And when it comes to dating, I think a lot of guys can get lost in like I am so desperate to have some kind of connection or some kind of attachment to a woman that I'll lose myself and really kind of look past all of the red flags and the things that are important and just latch onto this person because they're giving me attention. And I'm like, hey man, like you gotta treat yourself better. And it's the same thing for women. Like any friends that are girls that I have, I'm like, you're with that guy? Like, honey, like he's the worst. Like you aim higher. Like you are the prize. And I think it's the same thing for guys. Like for so long, it's been this pursuit of, like how do we get this girl to like us? How do we get their number? How do we get them to think about us in a seductive manner and whatnot? And I'm now trying to be like, hey, don't give a shit. Don't be a dick. Be nice. Be flirty and whatnot. But like if they don't like you, they don't like you. And if they don't fit within the mold of what you want in a relationship, then that's on them. Go do their thing. And since then, that girl has come into the bar, and I was so short with her and didn't even give her the time of day. They walked in, I was like, hey guys, like her and her friend again, like on a night out, same situation. I was like, what do you guys want to drink? And they're like, can I get this? And I gave them the drink. I was like, all right, there you go. And then didn't talk to them the rest of the night, and they left very quickly. And I was like, yeah, like I have better standards. Like I'm not gonna indulge in this because you know the excitement or the possibility of sex and all that stuff. Like, no, like that's not important to me. Like, I value more than that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, props to you for sure. I think that that's important. Like, I think a lot of, um, a lot of the things that are happening in that realm, like hooking up with a married man or hooking up with someone that has a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stems from not valuing yourself enough, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a deeper conversation for sure. And I think society in as a whole is really lacking in a lot of self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth,
Yeah.
self kind of reflection and value from that reflection, and not properly looking at ourselves and being like, hey, I'm worth someone's time,
Yeah.
someone's effort, someone like not on the side. Like, so I think that that's a huge, that's a whole nother topic for sure.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really care about because I think like with social media and stuff and just like working with kids, like part of a big part actually is getting young people to value themselves properly. And especially in the job that I'm in currently, where kids often don't have good home lives and they don't have parents that are super caring and loving and properly rewarding and stuff like that. Like there's no real proper sense of self value,
Yeah.
self worth, and so this is something that's really really personal to me. But yeah, I find that I just I'm I'm struggling right now. Like I mean, that story is like funny to me and cringy, and it's all the things that it's supposed to be.
I could
But
tell
at that,
it broke your heart a little bit.
it is breaking my heart right now, and that's like I'm trying to not go there. Like I don't want to bring it down. Like I'm sorry if I'm
Hey, wherever you go, you go.
changing the topic
Don't worry.
or bringing it where we don't want it to go. But like just this lack of self value, right?
Mhm.
Like you are worthy.
Yeah.
You you don't have to. And I think it's really difficult. Like I try to kind of balance things out. Like men throughout history have kind of the reputation of like, oh, the more people you sleep with or seduce or
Yeah, the
whatever, like
better you're
yeah, like
off. Yeah.
wow, you're whatever superstar, and then women are looking at that and saying, what the heck, like what the double standard, and then like if I sleep around, like if I'm a woman and I sleep around, then I'm
The slut or
yeah
all
whatever.
those things.
So I get that, like, and I recognize that, and that's a very real thing, and I think that's absolutely needs to be addressed. But I
Yeah.
also think like going to that extreme is not creating the situations that we want, and it's not like again, I'm not a woman, and so I don't really know. Like I'm just
Yeah.
kind of guessing, but like I don't just just because you have a high body count and you can sleep with whoever you want or whatever, I just think it's not creating the the happiness, the joy, the it's not filling the void that we think it's going to fill. And yeah, my heart is breaking right now. Like the more I think about it, the more difficult this situation is for me.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is like, so from that girl's standpoint, you know, maybe they don't value themselves. And like I had worked with them and we'd actually talked a lot about kind of her relationship with like her parents and just not, she does not have good role models for like good, healthy relationships. And I'd ask her about like, have you ever dated anyone like long term? Like, and she says that she always pushes away the people that she actually likes.
Ooh,
And I'm
okay.
like, okay, well, so like when all these things happen, I was like, I'm not surprised. Whatever, like you make bad decisions, that's fine. Like I'm not gonna change you. I'm not here to say like I can fix you. Like
Well, okay.
don't do that.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Are we certain? Like, are you willing to say it's a bad decision? It's her decision to make, right?
What specifically is a
Like
bad decision?
when you say, oh, she makes bad decisions,
Oh,
right? Like I'm a little bit hesitant. Like am like if I make that statement, am I correct in saying, oh, that's a bad decision? That's her decision.
mm-hmm.
Like she gets to make it. I'm not sure. Like that's what I kind of worry about. Like, am I just putting my morals and my values and my
Yeah,
um thoughts onto her? She's like the whole point of my writing the book and stuff
yeah,
is
yeah,
like you live your life the best way that you think
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
And so I think in a lot of ways, I personally, right, I am more than willing to be like, oh, you're living wrong, right?
yeah,
You're
yeah,
like make pretty harsh judgments.
yeah,
I am more than capable of judging the heck out
yeah,
of people. And I'm trying to kind of check myself and rein
yeah,
myself in and like, okay, it decisions I don't agree with
yeah.
by any means. But if they are correct for you, then I guess I'll support it. But in the back of my mind, I'm still like, not good.
Yeah, I mean, so I hear and I see exactly what you're saying about the bad decisions. I think why I say bad decisions, and when I think about, for instance, like let's say people that that woman chooses to sleep with, I say it's a bad decision, not because you're sleeping with someone. Like, I think having sex is a natural part of human life and dating and whatnot. So I think that's totally fine. But I think it's a bad decision, like because that person you're sleeping with is not a good individual. Like they don't make good choices. They are not really going to add to your life. Like I have this belief. So we talk about body count, right? So I'm under the like kind of how I want to live the rest of my life in terms of dating, right? So like if I date someone, if and we hit it off, there's a physical connection, there's an emotional connection, we hit all the forefronts, right? Spiritual, all that stuff. I then am like, okay, we'll date and we can have sex and whatnot. And then if in 4 months, in a year, in 2 years, in 1 month, I realize that like, oh, we're not compatible for like a long term thing, or you don't have the same values that I have that I think are important for me, I'll then end the relationship in like a gentlemanly way. Not gonna just be like, I'm cheating on you or like, throw you away, but like be like, hey, it's not really working out. Like I don't think it's gonna go the way we want to. If I then date 20 women in the next 10 years, my body count will most likely be 20. If a woman does that, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if you date someone and it's a happy, healthy relationship and you care about yourself, you're smart, and you like protect yourself, I don't care how many people you've slept with, right? But if you're going out there and you're just like kind of willy nilly throwing yourself at, whoever, then it's kind of like, I can't say like you're making a bad decision because it's my perspective, live your own life, be empowered in who you are. Because there are some women out there like that are also playing the game. They're manipulating men and they might get a power dynamic from it. They're like, I enjoy sleeping with multiple men because I feel like I'm winning because I'm now taking back control of my body. I'm doing what I want to do because for so long I was bashed down and called a slut because I wanted to sleep with more men and I have a super high sex drive and all those things. And I'm like, live your life, do your thing. I have no judgment from that. But when it comes like my own personal like dating and everything, like I don't know, like it depends on the case of like if I'm talking to them and they like want to date me and if I feel based off of their personality and how they talk about things and how they kind of carry themselves, that's what matters versus body count. Because body count's very easy to get hung up on. So yeah, that's kind of the dating story that I had.
Yeah, I mean that's like I
And it wasn't even like a date. Like it was more of like a possibility of something happening.
yeah.
And I was like, I'll see what happens. But overall, like at the end of it, it made me feel better, you
W-
know?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think like it makes me feel better about you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because I could tell when I was beginning to tell you your story, you're like, Rowan, buddy, what are you doing? Like they're saying all these things and you're like, probably not the best decision. And that's why I was like, just wait, because at the end I'm like, okay, no, I'm going home. Like this is not worth it.
Well, and I think too that story really is a perfect kind of um, example of the difference in generations
Yeah.
between you and I, because I look at that and I just shake my head and just like I have no idea about this part of the world anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm super happy about that. I don't want anything to do with that for sure. But at the same time, I get it. Like, this is a major part
Yeah.
of dating and what you guys, the younger generations, are dealing with. And for me, I, I do not know even how to talk about that because it's just something so bizarre to me and something that like doesn't make a lot of sense to me and is something so foreign that it just doesn't have. Yeah, I do live right next to the airport, so one
Might be
thing.
some audio of an airplane going
Yeah,
by.
I guess like that's one thing we should address. I live right next, well, not close to the airport, so there are planes flying overhead all the time, and next to the parking lot. So you might hear some cars
Yeah.
beeping and things like
No,
that.
I'll edit it out. Hopefully. We'll
So
see.
yeah, the audio may be a little bit different,
Yeah.
but it's just like this is a cool story for me to listen to because it just shows and kind of makes me think of like in dealing with the kids that I deal with and stuff, like just what, because I think what I want to prepare them for is my experience,
Hmm.
and my experience is no longer valid, right? My
Yeah.
experience is no longer like relevant, and so
Yeah.
like the world is very very different, and
Well, and the reason I've written an entire comedy bit about that story,
yeah,
right? And the reason why I want to talk about it is because I feel like I can only speak for men. I can't speak for women. me being a man and whatnot. But I think I see a lot of guys struggling out there to date right now, and it's hard for women as well, but just specifically for men, because there's kind of been an like overcorrection in not wanting to be, too flirtatious to objectify women, which is completely understandable because there is, the Me Too movement. There is this told time where men were just absolutely terrible to women, making them feel objectified and catcalling and all that stuff.
I think that's just history.
History, right?
Yeah, throughout
And
history.
so I never want to be that way. I don't want to put women in that position. I
Yeah.
always want to make them feel respected and as if they, like we are equals, like you are a normal human being. I'm not trying to objectify you, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons I like telling that story is because then it kind of just like, I mean, it's a vulnerable story, but it can kind of create some normalcy. Like, hey, man, like I went out there, like I was trying, but like I saw all the things going on, and I was able to come back from it and like be able to laugh at it versus actually feeling bad. And what was also funny is then recently I was at the bar working, and the guy that I knew that was making out with the girl and whatnot, that he stayed with them the rest of the night, and I went home.
Yeah.
He saw me at the bar, and he was like, "Hey man, like, good on you, dude. Like, way to like stick up for yourself." I was like, "Yeah, like, no, I'm good." Like, and he like kind of like celebrated in that. I was like, "Yeah, like, I was like, okay, me telling people this story is leading by example in the sense of like knowing yourself, valuing yourself, and not
Yeah.
putting up with it."
No, I think that's for me. That's the beauty of that story. Is I think, and again, I'm gonna speak for men. Like I don't, I have no desire to tell women what to do. I know better than that. But for me, and not even telling what people what to do, but let's just value ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's spend some time and think about what we want, think about what's important, actually know ourselves, actually like spend some time in getting to know the real essence of who we are and what we desire, and then holding fast to that,
Yeah.
right? Like I think so much of the world is instant gratification and hey, I just want this, I'm gonna go get it. And like you actually like in this process, and I think that's the value of what you and I do is like these conversations allow us to kind of explore ourselves in
Yeah.
ways that I mean I've learned so much in this podcast and like this whole process. And I think that's so cool. Like that for me, that's the value in this
Yeah.
story is like you actually knew what you were about and you were tempted and you went back and you said nah, like this is like I value myself more
Yeah.
and I'm going to hold myself to that standard and this is what I want. And that's beautiful, man. That's
Yeah.
that's really cool. And I think that's something that is a valuable lesson for all of us.
And something so in the spirit of dating and whatnot, like, so I've been trying. So I work with, I work at a bar, and I see all these girls come in and whatnot, and I'm very cute and whatnot, and I want to be flirty, but I don't want to become. The problem is like when I start to think like, okay, I see this beautiful woman, I want to flirt with her, and mostly because I live in Peoria, Illinois. It's not very often you see these attractive people out. So you're like, okay, if I see someone out and they're attractive, like I gotta say something.
Yeah.
Also, just kind of as a challenge to myself. And so I started to like basically think like, okay, looking at this woman, what am I gonna say that she's going to like? And I started to care so much about being this suave, seductive individual that I kind of lost myself in
Oh.
like who I am as a person.
Oh.
And so now it's been like a diligent practice of like, Rowan, you cannot care. If you go up to this person, just be yourself, say whatever you want to say. And if she's like, ew, gross, get away, you go like, okay, like, I'm not your cup of tea. Right. And
Yeah.
then eventually you'll get to the point where you'll just buy, like, my whole New Year's resolution for this year was like just becoming more confident in who I am as an individual.
Yeah.
That's in like all facets. And dating is a huge one because you can be super insecure, because you're like you want someone to like you, you're putting yourself out there, they're a
It's not even
stranger.
can be. You will be. You all of us
Yeah.
will be insecure.
Right? And so
Yeah.
now after that situation, that story I was telling you, it really helped me kind of be like, you know what? I could have bended over backwards, done all these things to make this person like me and to have them dance with me at the end of the night and whatnot. But it was like, it's not worth it. I'd rather go find someone that like I can truly be myself with,
Yeah.
and like they can enjoy my company, and I can be goofy, and I can do all the things that I would like to do with a woman, and be happy. So
Well, I guess like in a sense, like that just kind of made me think of this sentence. Like, is it worth being rewarded by sacrificing yourself?
no,
Right. And that's, I think, a really important question for all of us, not only in the world of dating or marriage or things like that, but in jobs, in relationships, in social interactions, in like every aspect of our lives, right?
no,
Like, is it worth it to us to get a small reward if we have to sacrifice parts of ourselves in order to get that reward? And I would argue super, super strongly, absolutely not.
yeah,
Right? Like to get some immediate satisfaction, gratification, whatever, in the short term is not worth sacrificing yourself in the long term.
yeah,
And I think for me, that's the essence. Like figure out who you are, figure out what's important to you, and then hold fast to that
no.
long term.
Well, and it's also like, I've in a previous episode I talked about just kind of like I'm trying to be more disciplined about certain things, and in that situation, I think valuing yourself is a discipline,
Yeah,
right? Because
absolutely.
in terms of like seduction and talking with people, people can people please and love bomb you and say exactly what you want to hear. And it's very easy to be like, you know what? This girl's cute. She's feeling up on my arm. I'll lose all sense of self and I'll just do the things she wants and I'll get that, end of the night dance and
Yeah,
whatnot and be all happy, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, no, like be disciplined. Like I feel that it'll be so much more rewarding when I can be myself and I can connect with someone and we have a mutual kind of bond and then it can prosper. I have been kind of like, in my past experiences with relationships really kind of set that tone because when, I dated my ex and we first had started, like that's how it was. Like I was myself, they were themselves and we connected and it was, really nice and it worked for a while and then it didn't. And so now I'm like, yeah, I'd rather find that than go out there trying to be all suave and be someone I'm not. Cause like I'm a goofy, 6'2" bald man, you know? And
Yeah,
and that works way better in my character versus being the guy that's like trying to be suave and like,
yeah.
that's like Mr. Cool. I'm like, I'm not. I am a goofy, lovable guy. I'll make you laugh. We'll have fun together. That's what you're gonna like about me. It's not because I come up and I'm, say the best line and whatnot. But
Well, I
I
think
got some game. We talked about it last time.
you
I got a little
absolutely have
game.
some game, my man. Oh, coffee's done. But I think too that just brings kind of another point that's really important and kind of for me again another essence of what we're doing this for is really in searching yourself, like figure out who you actually are, and then be true to that person, right? I think so. I mean that's my main gripe about social media is we try to be somebody that we're not. And there's so much focus on trying to create this image of somebody that we're in essence, we are really like,
Yeah.
we know we're not, but we think that,
An attempt of creating that ideal image by portraying through photos and whatnot of who you are, you lose it because you're trying to pursue it, you're trying to manufacture it rather than just like living it,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
like not having social media really has helped me be able to be like, hey, like in that specific situation, like I could tell stories like I could tell that story and be like, yeah, I walked out. And I could totally lie and be like, no, I stayed the whole night and then I ended up going to the club and then all three other dudes started dancing with her and I was left out and I went home crying. Not what happened. But you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's you can paint that picture,
yeah,
but not having social media and whatnot, I'm the only like I hold myself accountable.
yeah,
No one is seeing this. Like I'm just experiencing it and I can pay attention to it rather than in the back of my mind being like, how am I gonna portray this?
yeah,
How am I gonna make people think this?
yeah, yeah,
How am I gonna make people think that I'm suave and smooth and I'm attractive and I can talk to women? It's like there's no way I can portray it. I have to be that way.
yeah,
Like when I see a girl out, I can't be like, hey, this is my Instagram. You should check it out. Like, see all the money I've made and like the boat I have and all this stuff. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
no, like I'm gonna walk up to you. We're gonna talk, and like you're gonna get this flavor of Rowan.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of kind of like the path that you're on and kind of watching from the outside is I do get to see kind of the reality of things. And I kind of get to like live my life again through you. Because I like for better or for worse, I've been pretty real in a lot of instances to my detriment, right? Like to like I've been at the bar or whatever and just not handled situations well just because I was too real.
yeah.
But I think another important thing is too like one of the problems with social media is like we can kind of trick ourselves into thinking one thing, but in the end, like we cannot lie to ourselves.
No.
Like we know
Well, you can.
well you can, but like the essence is like
Yeah.
like deep down you're like,
Yeah.
I didn't
Well,
like,
that creates the conflict.
yeah, absolutely. And so I think that's where it oh man, there's so many aspects of this that I just think are amazing and complicated and
Yeah.
just like beyond what I can
Well,
mentally process.
the
But
next episode we're gonna do after this one is gonna tie into this one, so you can save those thoughts. Bring it
wow,
into the next
they're
one.
so mixed up right now. I don't even know what the heck I'm
Okay.
thinking. But
Well,
no,
with that
it's
being
awesome.
said, um, if you ever want to share your dating stories with us, reach
Oh,
out to us at
please.
NopeOpePod@gmail.com. That would be a lot of fun.
I
If
would
people
love it.
share dating stories, I mean, I love the aspect of dating, the flirting, and all that stuff. Even that story, some people might deem it as like that's rough. I think it's awesome. I love sharing with people. I love seeing the reaction and whatnot. Just because it's very interesting. It was a very interesting.
Well, and also, like I was like, oh, I could share dating stories from when I was younger. No, I'm not. I don't like. I don't even admit that I've ever had a girlfriend. So, like, I don't have like dating. I, I like. It's. I'm hesitant to even admit I've ever been on a date because I.
Well, Highland, we've been on many dates, so
Yeah, you and I have been on a
we
lot
have
of
been
dates for
on
sure.
many dates.
But yeah, if I'm just saying, if people like shared, that would be awesome. Like having the Nopes
Yeah.
version and then the Opes version, and like
Yeah.
comparing the two and how things compare and contrast.
Yeah.
That would be
Well,
awesome.
one of my favorite things to do at work. So I work with a lot of beautiful women and whatnot, and I always ask them because I'm sure they get hit on all the time. They're bartenders at a bar.
Yeah.
There's drinks involved. My favorite thing is to be like, okay, what's like the worst pickup line that you get? Like, and then they kind of like remember these stories and they get to tell about it. I'm like, geez, like this is what the guys were like trying to do and whatnot.
Ugh.
And it just is like it can be funny because then they can kind of share it. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
tough. Well, with that being said, we appreciate you guys watching and listening. If you ever want to purchase the book, it's available in the podcast description. And make sure to to follow us on YouTube as well, where we have the videos. You can subscribe on there for updates. Oh, we lost it. Okay. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.